My name is Clint, and this is Yin Yoga. Welcome. We're going to start today in hero's position. So for hero, what you want to do is set your knees about hip width apart, or maybe even closer, probably closer. You want to sit your glutes on top of your heels so that you're stretching out your ankles. Your toenails are flat on the mat, so you're stretching out your toes. And then the biggest stretch of all will be in your quads. Now, if you have an issue with your knees, you can always put a towel underneath your tibia so that your patellas, your kneecaps overhang. Or if your knees don't bend 90 degrees or close to it, you can always bring it back behind your knees, and that will help open up your knees a little bit. So from here, sit upright, straighten your spine, reach the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. Your sit bones are on your legs someplace. Allow your eyes to close. Take a deep cleansing breath into your nose and exhale it out through your nose. Take another deep cleansing breath into your nose. Exhale it out through your nose. And let your breath come to its own natural rhythm. In and out through your nose. And throughout today's practice, try to follow your breath, your breathing. In a class, you want to be quiet, but since you're at home, you can always block off your glottis. That's the little flap in the back of your mouth that regulates the amount of air that goes down into your lungs. You can close that off so that you can get a sound, kind of like Darth Vader. It's called Ujjayi breath in Hatha yoga, but you don't really have to do that. But sometimes I find it's much easier to have an audible breath. Keeps my mind on my breath. And notice where you breathe into here. If you're breathing deeply all the way down into your belly, or into your ribs, or up to the tops of your lungs, it really doesn't matter, as long as this is your own natural breath, the breath that has kept you healthy all these years. Let your shoulder blades just kind of drizzle down your back. Just release all the tension in your body. Try doing a scan here to see if you have any tension or stress hung up anywhere that's causing a blockage of your blood, or even if it's a mental block. And be aware of it as we go through the class. Certainly at some point you'll be close to stimulating that area. Make whatever modifications you need to make to get to that added tension that you'd like to rid yourself of. On your next inhale, open your eyes, and then just come forward into table. Remove any block you may have employed. And in table, do a couple of cat cows. As you inhale, your belly drops, your chest comes forward, and your sit bones lift and separate. And as you exhale, round your spine, tuck your tailbone under, and your chin comes towards your chest. The next time you come to center, pause here. This time, look back between your legs. If you can see your feet, move your feet outward just enough until they're hidden by your knees. Curl your toes under, and then begin to walk your hands back. Maybe move your knee back a 1/16 of an inch, coming into a toe stretch. And this is a counter pose to hero's pose, where you were stretching your ankles. Now your ankles are really flexed a lot, and your toes are flexed a lot also. Now you don't have to put a lot of weight on, just enough to stretch those toes out. I only have about 2 more breaths here. But keep your spine straight, even if you're not vertical. And then come back over into table. Point your toes, and then maybe tap your toenails on the mat. That will stimulate a little bit more blood running into your toes, and that would be a good thing. We're going to start our twists with thread the needle. So on your next inhale, take your right arm out to the right, horizontal to the floor. And then on another inhale, lift it all the way up or as high as you can get. Might not be very far because you're not warmed up. And then on an exhale, thread the needle, that right arm behind your left wrist, way over to the left, coming down onto your right shoulder. And at the moment, just leave your right and left hand by your face. Notice you're facing to the left. Your toenails are still on the mat. Notice the twist. Notice the twist in your shoulder. You have a big inward rotation on that right shoulder. Can you feel the tension in your lower right abdomen? Maybe, if your arms are long enough, maybe you can reach underneath all the way over to your lower abdomen, down below your ribs on your right side. And notice how much tension there is. That's this twist. Those are your obliques that are really being engaged here. Then bring that arm back out. And maybe walk that left hand forward, coming up on spider fingers, hollowing out your left armpit. And then begin to deepen your breath. Bring that left hand back next to your face. And on an inhale, push your left hand into the mat, lifting your chest, releasing that right arm out and up. And then bring it back down and do a couple of cat-cows again in table. And then walk both knees and both hands over to the right side of your mat. So your knees are together, We're going to do a face down spinal twist. So from here, come down onto your left hip. Your thighs should be parallel to the front of the mat, and your ankles and shins should be parallel to the long edge of your mat. From here, turn towards the front of your mat, and that's the direction you're going with your chest. Now, you can roll up a towel to go underneath your sternum to give your face an extra half inch or so, but walk your hands forward, coming all the way down onto your chest. Bring your arms out to a T. Maybe you can gaze off over your left fingers, maybe not. But feel this twist. Notice the direction your chest is pointing. It's pointing towards your left side. So this is the same twist as you just did in thread the needle, but it feels so different. Feel your shoulders. Maybe you can bring your shoulder blades together as your fingers walk your hands wider. Notice that right lower abdomen. Is there as much tension as there was in thread the needle? But first, concentrate on softening. Soften your left glutes and your right glutes. Soften your belly. Soften your shoulders, right at your shoulder sockets. Maybe your biceps can come all the way down to the mat. Soften your feet and ankles. Slow down your breathing. If you found a comfortable position, that's great. But maybe you want to check out that lower right abdomen again. Bend your right elbow, just reach up and see if there's much tension there. And maybe you can actually feel the direction of that tension from your front of your right hip up towards your left shoulder. And then come back to the spinal twist. Just yield to gravity. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, walk your hands up next to your chest. The next pose, stay here for just a moment. The next pose is going to be lying on your back with the leg raised. So you can just lift up enough to roll your left shoulder underneath and just roll over onto your back. Or if you want, you can come all the way up into table and flip over. And I think I lied to everybody saying that you did not need a strap, and we definitely need a strap. So I will give you a moment while you grab your strap, and I'll grab mine. So here you are on your back. Stretch your legs out, stretch your arms out, stretch from your heels to your palms, and then bring your arms back down by your side. Grab your strap. Bend your right knee, bring your knee into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. If your chest isn't tight enough in, you can always move that knee out towards your right elbow, your right armpit. And then grab the center of your strap, place it over the ball of your foot. Bind the outsides of that strap with each hand and step your footprint up on the ceiling. Push your left heel away, making sure you're keeping that left leg engaged, stretching that hamstring and calf. Maybe you want to put a little more tension, drawing that foot towards the wall beyond your head. And then carefully change your bind into just your right hand. Turn your right foot out, maybe 15 degrees or so. Bring your left hand on top of your left hip. Your left hand's job is to make sure your left hip doesn't rise up off the mat. And then slowly, over the course of the next 3 breaths, lower that right leg down towards the mat, but never quite getting there. And if you can get there, just increase the tension, drawing that leg farther towards the wall beyond your head. You can always rest your elbow on the mat or on a block. So the only body part that has tension left in it is really your right arm. You have tension. You're trying to soften the muscles in your right leg. You're stretching your groins. You can probably feel that a bit. You're stretching your hamstrings. You can probably feel all the tendons around your knees, your knee rather. But soften your hips. Soften your pelvic floor. Those are your Kegel muscles. Soften your lower abdomen. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, slowly bring that leg all the way back up towards the ceiling. Carefully move or change your bind into your left hand. And then you're only going to move that right leg to the left, maybe 8 or 10 inches, just enough so that you get a nice stretch on the outside of your right leg, your IT band, your glute on the outside. You might want to just reach down and feel it. Make sure that your sacrum stays firmly planted on the floor. My favorite yoga instructor always said, there's $100 bill underneath your sacrum, and it's a windy day. So don't let your sacrum come up off of the mat and lose that $100. And then on your next inhale, bring the foot back to center. On an exhale, bend your knee, keeping your bind, and then releasing your bind when you wish. Set the strap aside, draw that knee into your chest, give yourself a squeeze, and then release it all the way out to the front of the mat. Again, stretch lengthwise. And then return your hands next to your hips. Find a block. And this next pose is going to be a reclining swan. So bend your knees and walk your feet up towards your sit bones. Use the block the flat direction. And if you don't want to use the block, you certainly don't have to. But from here, tuck your tailbone under, lift your hips up, tuck the block under, and lower back down. So your sacrum's on the block. From here, lift your right leg up towards the ceiling, then bend your knee, bringing your ankle over your left thigh like a gentleman sitting. And when you're ready, lift that left knee up, reaching behind your thigh. Grabbing onto that thigh, your right hand's between your legs. Maybe if you have long arms or you're more flexible, you can make a bind across your shin, whatever works best for you. And draw your knee in towards your chest. You'll feel a big stretch on your psoas and on your glutes. You may feel a little horizontal tug from the outside of your femur towards the center of your pelvis, and that would be your piriformis. It's not a huge muscle, but it's a very important adductor, one of those muscles that help you keep your legs together. And from here, you can adjust this pose by moving your your right knee in towards your left thigh, so you can feel this more on the outside of that right glute. Or you can move your foot closer to your thigh, and you feel it more on the inside. It's whatever your body needs today. So experiment. You may find a new friend, or your muscles may find that their benefactor is finally tweaking them just the right way. Make sure you don't have any sensation in that right knee. You can do that by flexing your right foot, drawing your toes up towards your knees. That activates all the muscles on either side of your knee to protect it. As you exhale, just notice your lower belly, how the air leaving your lungs allows your belly to come in a little bit more. Maybe you can squeeze that knee a little bit more, intensifying the pose. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, release your bind. Now let your left leg come all the way down, your foot onto the mat, next to your sit bones. From here, maybe lift that right foot up, stretch the heel towards the ceiling, feeling that nice stretch of your hamstring, and then lowering it down to the mat. On an inhale, lift and remove the block. Set it aside. Bring your knees into your chest and rock from left to right, massaging your spine and the muscles around it. You can make circles with your knees if you wish. And then from here, lower your feet back down next to your sit bones. Bring your hands flat on the mat next to your hips. Tuck your tailbone under. And on an inhale, lift your hips up towards the ceiling. And feel the stretch across your quads again. Maybe you can feel your hip flexors right at the base of your pelvis, at your hip crease as they stretch. And then lower back down. Grab your block again. And this time, on the inhale, lift up and place the block the highest way you feel comfortable, underneath your sacrum. Carefully lower back down. Leave your hands on the mat. And if you're stable, you can walk your feet out towards the front of your mat. Your soles can be flat on the mat if that's okay. That gives you more stability. Or if you wish, you can just push your heels away. You can spread your legs wide if you want, or keep them narrow. It's all up to you. But then consciously release the tension in your legs, in your glutes. Let your feet just go off to one side or the other and feel what gravity is doing to your hip flexors and the tops of your thighs. You can probably feel this tension in your lower abdomen, maybe coming all the way up to your rib cage. And if you'd like to intensify that, lift your arms straight up towards the ceiling and then lower them down onto the mat beyond your head. And find some way to support the backs of your hands, your wrists, and forearms on the mat. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, return your hands back down by your hips. When you're ready, bend your knees, walk your feet back up towards your sit bones. And when you're ready, lift your hips up, remove the block, set it aside, lower your sacrum down, and then draw your knees into your chest, gently squeezing, beginning to rock a little bit or make circles. And as your back comes back to you so that it's not only trying to recover, you can make those movements a little larger. And the next time you come to center, pause. From here, the next pose is going to be back up into table. So roll over onto your right side. Use your left hand. Come back up into table. And do a few cat-cows here. Cat pose might feel extra good after that bridge. And then next time you're at center, pause. From here, lift your left arm up and out. And then lift it all the way up. We're going to thread the needle again. Left hand behind the right wrist, coming all the way over onto your right shoulder, your right cheek. And feel this twist. Right when you first started, you may be able to feel the tension in your lower right abdomen, the back and the front. You can feel that internal rotation on your shoulder. And maybe you can lift up just a little bit and stretch that hand farther. And then just let your chest come down onto that shoulder. And let gravity begin to have its way. If you allow your toenails to come down onto the mat, your feet will be able to relax a little bit easier than if your toes are curled under. Maybe you can feel your lower back begin to soften. Feel how wide apart your shoulder blades are pulled. Maybe you want to walk that right hand forward again, hollowing out that right armpit. Or you can put that right hand on a block. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bring that right hand back next to your face. And then push the floor away, lifting your chest up, releasing that left arm out and up. And then return it back down to the mat. Do a couple more cat-cows here. Really exaggerate the movement on your shoulders. The next pose is the face down spinal twist. So if you need a block or a towel underneath your chest, make sure that you have it available. And then walk your hands and knees over to the left side of your mat. Lower your right hip down. Just check your thighs to make sure that they're parallel to the top of your mat, and your ankles so that they're parallel to the long edge of your mat. Turn towards the front. Walk your hands forward, lowering your chest down. Bringing your arms out wide. And maybe you can gaze over towards your right fingertips. But if it hurts your neck, don't do that. Maybe you want to use a towel that's rolled up underneath your collarbones. Maybe not. From here, try walking your fingertips out and drawing your shoulder blades together to kiss. So you're reaching out, but pulling in. You want your arms long from your shoulders to your fingers, or you want your shoulder blades as close together as they can be. That way you're stretching your arms and your rotators. Now notice your chest and the twist in your body here. Can you feel that twist in your hip crease, your lower left abdomen, both the front side and back side by your kidney? Soften your glutes here. Soften your jaw. If your teeth are gritted, just separate them. But don't put your tongue between your teeth. Soften your lower belly. Pretend you're just laying in a canoe with the sun warming your body. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, walk your hands back next to your chest. Carefully lift up your chest a bit. You're going to be going back onto your back again. So maybe just walk your hands over to the left enough so that you can bring your right shoulder down on the left side of your mat and roll over onto your back. From here, stretch your legs out towards the foot of your mat. Reach your arms up overhead, stretching your toes, your fingers, and your heels, your palms. Turn your hands next to your hips. Grab your strap. Just set that across your chest for the moment. And then bend your left knee, draw that knee into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. And notice the tension in your leg. Push that right heel away, really engaging those muscles. And then grab your strap, bend your knee, put the strap across the ball of your foot, make a bind with the ends of your strap, one on each hand, and then step that footprint up on the ceiling. And to increase the amount of force that you have coming into your hip socket, draw your arms outward. Your left leg should be straightish. Your hamstring will have something to say about that. And it's okay if it's not perfectly straight. This is a yan pose for your shoulders. You're building strength on your shoulders. And then carefully Change your mind to just your left hand. Turn your foot out 20 degrees or so. Right hand goes on top of that left thigh. And then on an exhale, begin the slow descent of that foot down towards the mat. And remember, you can always use a block to support that elbow or that arm, because you never want to get that foot all the way down to the mat. Make sure that your sacrum doesn't come up off of the mat. That's what your right hand is for. And if it does, just back up, lift up that leg a little bit higher. Or make more tension, drawing it closer towards your head. Feel where the tension in that leg is. And begin to soften those muscles. The muscles that you're targeting are your hamstrings, your IT band, and your groins, and your calf muscles. So just breathe into those muscles, bringing more oxygen, more water, so that they can soften and transfer the tension into your fascia. Soften your pelvic floor, your lower abdomen. Soften your glutes. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, slowly bring your foot back up onto the ceiling. Carefully change your bind just into your right hand. And then without lifting your sacrum off of the mat, draw that left foot over to the right, just 8 or 10, maybe 12 inches. But keeping a lot of tension. So you feel this on the outside of your leg. If your leg starts to shake, that's okay. That's natural. But try to soften. And on your next inhale, raise your foot back up towards the ceiling. Begin to bend that knee And when you're ready, you can release the bind, get rid of the strap, draw that knee into your chest, give yourself a squeeze. And then release that knee out to the front of the mat, stretching both heels away, and feel the blood rushing down into that leg. Maybe reach your arms overhead. Get a nice stretch from your toes to your hands again. And then finally bringing your arms back down by your side. Make sure you have a block handy. This time walk both feet up towards your sit bones. From here, on an inhale, grab your block the flat direction, lift up, place the block the long way from left to right, and sit down or let your sacrum come down on top of the block. Lift your left foot up, place the footprint on the ceiling again, bend your left knee, bring that ankle over the top of your right thigh. And then on an inhale, reach your left hand between your thighs, lift your right knee up and draw your right knee in towards your chest. It doesn't have to come very far. And if you need a strap to make that bind, go for it. Everybody has a different body. This side might be radically different from the other. Embrace that difference. Maybe you know why there's a difference. Maybe it's because of a prior accident, or a hip replacement, or a knee replacement. I often talk about being intimate with your own body and knowing its history can increase your empathy. Towards parts of your own body. And that's needed for you to live a healthier, happier life. You have all the options that you did on the first side available to you. You can intensify this if you wish. Make it a little easier, modify it. You may want to just move that right knee off to the right and see what that does to the tension in your left hip. And then maybe go the opposite direction and see what happens. Become an expert on your own body's reactions. The more you know, the better custodian you'll be. Breathe into wherever that sensation is greatest. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, release your bind. And lower your legs down to the mat. Lift your hips up. Remove the block. And draw your knees into your chest and rock from left to right. And the next time you come to center, pause. Make sure you can grab 2 blocks. Shavasana is going to be a 2-block Shavasana. Like I said at the beginning of the mat, at the beginning of the class, place the first block flat and widthwise across your shoulder blades. You might have to make an adjustment in order for it to be comfortable. And then get the other block. It can be either flat or the 6-inch dimension underneath your skull. From here, take your arms out straight to the side and just let your arms fall off your shoulders. You're getting one more big stretch on your shoulders. This is going to stretch your pecs. Bring your feet wide apart or as wide as you wish. Lift your head an inch, tuck your chin, lower your head back down. And then take a deep cleansing breath into your nose. Exhale it all out through your nose. Take another deep cleansing breath into your nose. Out through your nose. And take rest. If your elbows and forearms are off the mat, allow your arms to drop so that they're supported. If you're holding your toes vertical, just let them splay the way they want. And take rest. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back into your space. Bring movement to your fingers and to your toes, to your wrists, and to your ankles. Be very careful with your head if you can rock from left to right or not. And then when you're ready, bend your knees a little bit. Bring your elbows to the mat. Lift up off of your blocks and come to a seated position. Be careful of where your blocks are. Thank you for sharing your yin practice with me this afternoon. It is truly wonderful practicing with friends in this beautiful community of ours. Take the compassion and the peace and the empathy that you practice on your mat. Take that with you wherever you go. Share it with your family, your friends, and every soul you meet. Namaste. My name is Clint, and this has been Yin Yoga.